Good evening. Welcome to the April 8th regular meeting of the Wilmette Board of Commissioners. Before our meeting starts tonight, we are going to begin with a BINA hearing. At this time, we will open the Bond Issue Notification Act required hearing to receive any comments relative to the Wilmette Park District's proposal to sell not to exceed $5,500,000 in general obligation limited park bonds. All persons desiring to be heard on this matter will now have an opportunity to present written or oral testimony to the Board of Commissioners. These proposed bonds are to be issued for the payment of land condemned or purchased for parks for the building, maintaining, improving, and protecting of the same and the existing land and facilities of the district, and for the payment of the expenses incident thereto. Before we take any testimony from the public, would any Board of Commissioner member like to make comments regarding the proposal to issue general obligation limited park bonds? Are there any residents or members of the public here this evening that wish to provide oral or written testimony concerning the proposed issuance of the general obligation limited park bonds? Please state your name for the record. And then...
Hi, it's Mark Weirmuller. I'm a Wilmette resident. Is this good? Is this good? Can you hear me okay? Mm-hmm. So I oppose borrowing more money. Why don't we pay off debt? I'm just not sure. And also in the explanation, what exactly are we borrowing it for? Are we borrowing it to buy the Beth Hiller property over there? Is that part of the deal? No one's really mentioning that. I looked up, I couldn't find any information about that. But I would just not, I'd rather lower property taxes and not borrow any money. So that's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully that was under 1 minute.
There's no time limit for this one. Okay. Seeing no further members of the community wishing to address the board, has the district received any written or other type of correspondence regarding the proposed issuance of the general obligation limited park bonds?
None.
Okay. Thank you. With all persons desiring to be heard been given an opportunity to present oral and written testimony regarding the proposal to issue the bonds, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Murdoch moved and Commissioner Duffy seconded the motion that the hearing be adjourned. Are there any further comments or discussion from members of the Board of Commissioners? Secretary, please take the roll.
All right. Commissioner Leahy.
Here.
Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Goebel.
Here.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Here.
Commissioner Duffy.
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis.
Yes.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. The motion to adjourn the hearing is approved. The Bond Issuance Notification Act hearing is now finally adjourned.
In that case, I vote yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I thought we were doing roll call.
Yes.
All those in
All
favor,
down
aye,
the
yes, it's, and everyone's here. We're on to
Do you want to do that
3.0.
again?
We have a second and a motion. Let's vote on adjourning. Commissioner Leahy.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel.
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy.
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you. The motion to adjourn the hearing is approved. All right. The BINA hearing is now adjourned and we'll open the regular board meeting with a roll call.
Again.
Please
No,
indicate
no,
your attendance by saying here.
We can say here.
Commissioner Leahy.
Here.
Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Goebel.
Here.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy. Commissioner Kozlowskis.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you.
Hey.
First on the agenda this evening is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I move to approve the consent agenda of April 8, 2024, regular meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners, a copy of which is to be attached and become a permanent part of the minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Is there any discussion or would any member of the board like to remove something from the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to remove 3.5, the minutes from March 18, 2024, Committee of the Whole.
And that is noted that there are some edits to be still made to that draft. Everything else? Okay, let's proceed with the roll call.
Commissioner Leahy.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel.
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy.
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis.
Yes.
The consent agenda is approved without item 3.5.
That brings us to communications and correspondence. There were a handful of letters in the packet, predominantly around the news regarding South Beach, which I saw today. Director Wilson has responded to those residents. Any other communications or correspondence to report or note?
Everything I received is included.
Let's open to public comment. Would anyone in the audience today like to address the board? May I see by a show of hands? You're welcome up to the podium. In this instance, you do have a 3-minute time limit per our policy. Director Wilson will keep the time. Please state your name again for the record.
Okay. Hello, Mark Weiermiller, Wilmette resident. You also might follow us on Wilmette Connection, a Facebook page where we're covering a lot of these issues and promoting business in Wilmette. So if you want to see what people are talking about. So real quick, I don't want to go 3 minutes, but I'm curious more about this Beth Hiller purchase. There's talk that the Park District's going to pay millions of dollars. The congregation, I guess, is combining with another one, and the property's for sale. I tried to find some info. I didn't really see anything on the website, and I really don't want the Park District spending millions of dollars to expand. I think there's enough parks. Parks are great, but I'd rather see housing there or private sector development and not government getting involved in expanding the size, scope, and cost of government. So I'm hoping that deal doesn't go through. And then, I don't know what you guys would pay for it, 20 million, 30 million, and then spend another 60 million like they want to do with the Wilmette Police Station to build more stuff. We just need to watch the property taxes. That's item one. Item two, there's talk that Bateman Park might be the site of the new police station. I've asked a number of people. No one is saying Bateman Park will not be the new police station. So I'm wondering if somebody possibly later on will come out and say that land is not going to be the new Wilmette $60 million police station. We talked about borrowing money earlier. Again, I just wish you guys would stop borrowing money and maybe just use the property taxes for running anything. I want to cut property taxes. If we have extra money, we can pay off debt. So that's my main focus, cutting property taxes and still maintaining the good services to the Wilmette Park District. Again, Mark Weiermiller, and thank you for your time. Hopefully that was 2 minutes.
Thank you. Did anyone else want to address the board this evening? Okay. Then that brings us to 6.0, staff reports.
Sure, I'll start, and then each superintendent will take their portion in order of the agenda. The bulk of my report was in regards to the BINA hearing that we've already conducted. Touch on the remaining items. Tonight, under new business, the board will be considering the first sustainability plan of the district. Lucy Mellon, our sustainability coordinator, who is shared between us and all the other units of government in town, will be making a presentation. This plan comes from a lot of work, not only by Lucy, but members of our staff who were a part of the steering committee, members of the public, especially Go Green Wilmette, giving input and feedback, as well as the Board of Park Commissioners. If adopted, this plan will guide our practices into the future. More on the fun note side of things, at the golf course today, we started test driving, if you will, autonomous mowing units governed by GPS. They're basically oversized Roombas that cut the grass. The initial test this morning went very well. It was a very controlled, very conservative test, and we'll continue, honing in on their performance. But so far, so good. And then also under new business, in addition to the sustainability plan, we have our typical order of business of surplus property for the disposal of assets of the district. This time it's related to furniture, mainly tables at the Community Recreation Center.
Thank you. Any questions? Are we going to go to Lucy next, or are we going to go?
No, you're going to.
Okay. So next we're going to have a report from Parks and Planning.
Hello, how are you guys?
Hello.
So Gilson Park, we are still combating the lesser celandine with steam,
As am I.
flame treating.
Not the flame yet, but
So we're still going at it, and we got the grant from Midwest Grows Green. We are still using the recommendation. We have a follow-up meeting in the next couple of weeks. But basically, it's just all over the park, and we are hoping that all of these treatments will help us in the future. So we might not see a huge improvement this year, but we are going at the plant at its roots with all of the treatments that we're doing. So we're doing 6 different treatments of whether it's the flame, steam, organic chemicals and synthetic chemicals.
I'm seeing the lesacetylene all over
It
as
is.
I walk on all the parkways and yards and
Yeah, and we had that dip in the temperatures, which obviously impacts the ability for us to use chemicals. So we are going to go back at it this week, but we're on application number 4 right now in some of the treatments. Any questions?
I'll ask.
Yeah.
How's the burning going?
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We did buy a attachment for a propane tank to start using in-house also now that we've gone through the process and we know what we can do. So hopefully maybe we could get you out there and help us out.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Just but there's for everybody else and for whatever. It's this is the grant, right? Part of the
Correct.
grant process. So
Yeah,
I joke about it, but it's actually pretty
It is.
cool.
And we didn't expect it to be as bad as it is right now. So I'm so glad that we started this process in October of last year. But we have years of treatments ahead of us to try to get in front of this.
I just made a comment like last year when I was helping market at the Burton Sanctuary. When I'd been back to New York, it's just like carpeting everything. It just was, so it's like try to keep it under control.
Our horticulturalist, Catherine, was joking that she has a friend on Facebook who's posting by the flowers. Like it's beautiful, but
Right.
it's an invasive weed.
And you know what, that might be a good note for those of us who are a little more familiar with it. We're aware of what you're talking about, but could you just explain what lesser celandine
Sure.
is?
So it is an invasive buttercup. When I started in 2020, it was in spots throughout Gilson Park. We had it was really thick right at, just north of the harbor. And then over the last 4 years, we have seen just it drastically grow and spread, not only through Gilson, but we've also seen it at Maple Park, K Park, Hibbard Park. So we do see that the weed is making its way west through town. Fortunate for us in the other parks, it's much more controllable. So for instance, at Hibbard Park, when we found it last year, we cut 18 inches down in the ground and removed the chunk of ground where we found the weed. It's not very suitable application at Gilson since it is everywhere within the park. So it's in the planting beds, within the turf grass, the tree rings. So we're just trying to combat it with everything we have.
Thank you.
And just for some comment, when you remove that, you can't even put it in compost. You have to throw it out.
Correct. Yeah, and we've also been recommended by the company we're working with to bag the grass clippings as much as we can over at Gilson. So we will be push mowing a part of the park, and then we're going to have to go to a yard waste dumpster, a special yard waste dumpster, to dispose of those clippings.
So it occurs to me, and my space is not this space, it's healthcare, but we always talk about cross-contamination. Is it possible the mower is taking it from one park to another?
It absolutely could.
Yeah.
They're
I don't know how you would
concerned
control for that, though.
that when we aerate the park, that we are then slicing the weed and bringing it to the next area within the park. So we're going to try to avoid aerating while once it gets flowered, there's nothing we could do about it. So we're going to try to go at the park in like June, July, August, obviously, which isn't the best time for those applications, but we're just trying to figure out what the best method would be to not only get rid of the weed, but also maintain the park.
Thank you.
All right. Langdon, the last week of March, we moved in the temporary office for the staff to work out of the lakefront. We needed to have that office in place so that IT can work with Comcast to get internet to the office. We also this week will be working to run temporary power to the unit so that staff can work out of it from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So that's
Where are the porta potties going to go? Because
we have one porta potty right next to the unit, so it was long enough that we could put the office in a porta potty, and then the enclosure, it wraps around the neighbor's side. On the street side of the enclosure, we put the other portable unit there, so it's still obstructed by the fence. Moving on to the building staff. At the Community Recreation Center, we renovated room 204, similar to room 106, redid the floor, added new cabinetry, and painted the room. So they completed that the last week of March. We also worked with an outside contractor to pull up and replace the floor within the golf clubhouse. We're having a little setback on the tile, but we were hoping to get that resolved in the next 2 weeks. So we do have a portion of the clubhouse flooring that is not completed, but the tile, we moved it out another row along the bar so that when people pulled the chair out, we weren't hitting that transition piece. So we added a row there and then a vinyl luxury tile flooring throughout or plank throughout the rest of the clubhouse floor. We added another SUP rack for sailing. So it's 2 racks and it holds 5 SUPs within each rack. So that will be new for the sailing beach for this year. Onto the park staff. So they were busy. When we had the warmer temperatures, it really impacts their day-to-day. We thought we'd be cutting grass by now, honestly, with how much we were seeing 70 degrees in March. But they were performing regular tree maintenance, so overstory tree pruning. They were removing any dead trees that they may have found throughout the parks. They were mulching. They did a restoration project at K. We had a lot of invasive material out there that they were removing, and then they're also treating those stumps so that they don't resprout, which is even more of a nightmare than just the one that you originally had. So they've been working on that. For turf work over spring break, the 3 IGA parks, so Thornwood, Hibbard, and Community Playfields, we applied biosolids to those 3 parks, which is an organic fertilizer. We have seen that it not only helps with the growth, it also helps with the wear and tear of the field. So I personally think that it helps with when we have droughts and when we also have a lot of water, that the ground holds up better when you're putting down these biosolids fertilizer. The sports fields, so not only did we remove the turf covers from community playfields, there is a picture in the packet. You could see how those turf covers act like a greenhouse. So we throw some seed and a little bit of fertilizer underneath the turf covers in the fall. And then when we pull them up in the spring, it is substantially warmer in there. So we use that in goal mouse or worn spots on the athletic fields so that we can get a jump start on the spring before the soccer is out there, which obviously, it impacts the growth of the turf. So we removed those. We lined all the soccer fields. We put the batting cages online. All of the bathrooms, well, not all, but the community playfields bathroom was opened up, and all of the portable restrooms were put into place within the athletic fields. And the last thing at community playfields is the path that we put in 2022. We did resurface that this year. So we bought several tons of the red tread granite, and they brought it out, they dragged it, and then they compacted it down. So we envision that being every maybe 2 to 5 years of having to do another application of the material.
Beautiful.
Any questions?
I just have one question. I wonder what Commissioner Duffy's going to do at the end of the meeting now.
I'm stealing his thunder, huh?
Making it easier on
Yeah.
us.
I think the next meeting you can come in your fire protective gear and underscore the point and show all of our
Burn boss.
fans
Yeah.
at home, how
That's
important
true.
Celadine is to
Legit
combat.
thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Dave with Recreation.
Greetings, everyone. So we have a lot of new faces on our staff. We have some familiar faces in new positions. So that's been the big thing that's taken place since we have last met. So we are happy to have our hallway at CRC filled again. And we have some new general managers in new positions. And it's making all the difference in our attitude toward how prepared we're going to be for summer. Now I think everyone is collectively taking a breath and feeling better about the prospect of moving into the spring and summer fully staffed. So you can see the names in the board report there of all the new people. If you have any specific questions about them, I'm happy to answer them. But we really got some really good people. Like I felt like I was a general manager in a draft, and like we got some top picks, and they all signed contracts, and it's a great deal. So we're pretty excited about all that stuff. We transitioned from the winter session to the spring session, so all of those programs have gotten underway, and things are kind of going according to plan with the spring session. One thing that we have learned through the process is this time around we combined the registration date for spring and summer sessions. All of those programs registered on the same day at the same time, which if you're not aware, our registration process creates a little bit of stress and anxiety around the community. And the idea now that someone had to go in and register for, do I pick my favorite summer session or my favorite spring session first as my top priority? We got a little bit of feedback that maybe wasn't what everyone was looking for. So as we move into the fall, we've kind of learned that while we're going to publicize both of our fall sessions simultaneously, we're going to separate the registration dates and spread those out a little bit. And so not put so much pressure on families to make those choices all in one sitting. So we did learn some good lessons from that process. Camp registration continues to go. Registration is slowed, but progress towards camp is moving forward. I would love to be able to sit here and tell you that I have a lot of great telling data to compare from last year to this, but 2023 and 2024, the process that we're going through are dramatically different. And as much as I tried to find nuggets of information that I thought were relevant between the 2 years, there's just not a lot. Like the story has changed so much from last year to this. The only thing that the narrative that I can supply with that is that as I go around and I talk to our staff and and ask how they're feeling about the registration numbers in their camps and their staff applications and people getting into these positions, that everyone feels good, they feel confident. The registration wait lists, of course, are a major concern of ours. I feel like we just can't provide enough for what people want. However, we've uncovered a couple other plans along the way to help alleviate that a little bit. The process for filling a wait list, even with the best intentions, requires us to do a lot of due diligent work to communicate with people that are on a wait list. Okay, do you want this spot? We have to give them time to respond to us. And then when they do, they create another void. So we have to contact another layer of people and see if they would like that spot. So it's kind of a labor intensive process right now that we are learning from, and we think will get better as we move forward. But we have found ways to kind of already and moving forward here in the next week or so to add some more sections of certain camps of ours to just create more spaces. It's going to require us to hire a few more staff members, part-time staff members, camp directors, those sorts of people. But we feel like that's well within our capabilities at this point. We are nearly fully staffed in most of our camps, if that can be more ambiguous for you. But we do have one more job fair coming up this week, so we feel like we'll get another round of qualified applicants. So overall, going into where we're at right now, going into camp season, we're feeling pretty good. Feel like I got a team now, and except for we have a vacancy again at the lakefront. We've changed over to 2 positions. So we are currently searching for 2 people at the lakefront. So Meg White's a little bit on an island out there herself for a little while, but we are supplying some support for her, getting things going. But questions?
Well, congratulations on the hiring processes. I know those are time consuming, but worth it.
Yeah, everyone worked very hard. Poor Carol, if she has to do one more phone screen, I think she's going to lose her mind.
All part of it. Yeah.
I have one question about camps. It sounds like this year the focus is on trying to expand capacity further. And I know you weren't here for this part last summer, but it seemed like last summer we had a bit of an issue with calibrating staff to camps in some cases that were maybe a little bit smaller than had been anticipated at the start of the planning process. How are we doing calibrating staff to the number of enrollees we have, both in terms of bigger and smaller?
So there's the approach that you just hire a bunch of staff and you hope you get the people, and there's a little bit of that we do. We're not over hiring at this point, but I think everyone generally feels like we want to if someone applies, we want to work them through the process. We want to get them into the system somehow, because at some point we're probably going to be able to find a way to use them. If we may not have as much of a need for staff at, let's say, sports camp, if those people are interested in working and willing to transition and do their training, we can cross-train them. The big key to all this is that we still have time. We haven't done our training yet, so we have a chance to cross-train everybody and make them a little bit more versatile. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
Yeah, I think so. I think the only piece that I was asking a little bit about is if it turns out, say, sports camp, for example, if enrollment is down, at what point do we try to transition some of the staff someplace else? You say it's an ongoing process.
sure.
So I think you
at
did
some
answer
point
it.
we'll get the sense of this is where this camp's going to end up in terms of numbers. We're going to eliminate a lot of the variables that go into that, and as long as our staff, our supervisory staff, our camp director staff, and our applicants, our employees are prepared that at some point we're going to make the big moving of the pieces around to make sure that we're as efficient as we can and that we can maximize our employee resources, we will. So
Sounds good. Thank you.
yeah, sure.
It's kind of along the lines of what Commissioner Murdoch just brought up. What, are you confined at all by facilities?
Of course.
Because that's finite, and to a degree, staffing's finite too. So I know as people want to get into these certain camps, well, there's only so much room. So are you looking at expanding all camps, or are you just saying?
No, there's certain ones. There's certain camps that are relatively infinite in terms of the number of people that can get into them. But obviously, if those aren't full at this point, the likelihood that magically 75 more people are going to register is probably not going to happen, right? But we have camps that, I'll give you an example of a City Slickers camp, which is previously it was a 1-week camp at the end of the summer, and it was either the 9th or 10th week of the summer that we take a group of kids and they jump on the train and they go to the city and they have a different experience every day. So there's really no limit facility-wise there. Our limit was finding staff that we felt comfortable shepherding that process, right? Now we have some different eyes on that, and we have some different attitudes, and we have some different staff secured. So there's a place where we can grow, and we don't have to worry about facility size. It's just a matter of the size of group that we want to manage based on our resources. And each summer presents us different opportunities for facility use based on what District 39 allows us. And so at Highcrest this year, we have a little bit more space than we need based on what our initial camp plan, based on last year's blueprint. So there are a few things that we can expand there, and it's just a matter of maybe a handful of kids here and there in different camps. But my perspective is that a handful, like that's 5 families that could totally impact for the entire summer potentially. So
Right.
the other big issue that you talk about constraints is that on a beautiful day, it's great. It doesn't matter. We can be all over the place. And then you get one of those air quality days, or you get a rain day, and now it gets real, and everybody needs a spot, and capacities are important. And so we're taking all that into consideration. We've expanded our Summers Inn camp. We created a site at the lakefront. Just based on now Lakeview is online and we have a little bit more space over there. So trying to take advantage of all those little resources that pop up.
Right.
For us.
Thanks.
Sure. Anything else?
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Operations is up next.
Not mess up Lucy's presentation. That's there. Okay. All right. So Project Parks and Play. We have been receiving a lot of different documents from Danny and the Barry Dunn team that we can start reviewing. Steve and I are really looking into diving into those this week. We have updated objectives that they've split up into the different traditional and maybe format that we were kind of looking for the last time that Danny came and presented. The Phase 2 Project Parks and Play survey closed last month. We had 402 responses, which is a great response. I know sometimes it might not feel like survey responses are that many, but when you think about it and all the different communities that they've been part of and done surveys in, when they're really ecstatic about a response like this, I feel like we should be too. So 402 is a great number for the phase 2 survey. They also had a town hall back on March 14th that had 5 people, which I also know doesn't sound that many, but they were really ecstatic by that number. So we got some great feedback and some good question and answer during that. Outside of the objectives, we have a table of contents that we're reviewing for the comprehensive plan. So we're going to take a look into that. I know when the strategic plan was presented, there were a few different items that some of you all were looking to be added and some more to beef it up a little bit. So we're going to take a look at that table of contents, ensure that all the items that you might be looking for are included before they start working on that first draft. So that's exciting. The other thing that we received from them is the revised strategic plan. So Steve and I are going to dive into that, and we're really looking forward to providing our first round of feedback and any additional feedback that we heard from you guys at the meeting that they might not have caught, and giving that to them before we share that with you. So Project Parks and Play is still rolling and looking like it's coming to a close. So any questions on that one? Okay. As for other operations, I'm starting to work on an internal policy manual. So that will kind of take a look at all of our different policies that aren't in our personnel policy manual, but just throughout the district, whether it's a financial policy or like a soccer goal policy and recreation, and putting those all into one place so that we can have a manual just for that. I've been looking at a lot of other districts and what they have and their different examples. And the first step will just kind of say, what of these do we have? And what of these are we going to recommend? What do we need? Things like that. So that'll be a nice thing to get going. Anticipated date that I gave myself was November, but it's going to be a rolling process. There's a lot of different policies that we could potentially be creating. So it's going to be a process, and hopefully we'll be bringing those to you sporadically so that you don't have, one gigantic document to approve at one time, but that'll be by way of how you guys want to learn about that information. Additionally, social equity, I've been giving some reports now that we have a different plan for each quarter. So the plan for quarter 2 is to read the book What If by Stephen L. Robbins. So we invite you all and the rest of the community to join us in reading that. The staff will get together for a book club discussion later on in Q2 to review that. And that'll be a nice way for us to kind of get together, continue our work with the social equity committee, get feedback, and be in person kind of discussing those things together. So we're looking forward to that. For the foundation, the annual WOW swim event is coming up on June 15th. So tickets are on sale, 7 a.m. down at Gilson Beach. That's one of their events that they do annually with the support of the beach staff. So we're looking forward to that one. And then right after that, on June 22nd, they're having their brand newish kind of revamped beach bash is what it was, and now it's going to be the bowl bash. So they're going to be raising funds and awareness of the Wallace Bowl. Tickets will be on sale very shortly, and you'll be able to find that information on their website. So 6 local bands. It'll be a lot of fun, so we encourage you all to attend that as well. On to human resources and risk. As you were talking, or as Dave was saying, there's been a lot of new hires, and we have 2 more positions that we're looking to hire down at the lakefront. The phone screenings, where's Dave, are still happening. So Carol was finishing some of those up today. So she's really excited about the candidates that they have rolling in and the people she's talked to so far. So hopefully we continue that trend with some additional great staff. The last in-house job fair for all those summer positions will be on Wednesday from 4 to 6 at the CRC. So hopefully we get anybody that's last round trying to come in, get some additional information about our camps. They can come and check that out. So that'll be awesome. And then our current staffing numbers. So Dave kind of touched on this, that staff are doing really great. For summer camp in particular, counselors and directors, there's only 60 spots to fill, and that was of like a week and a half ago. So that's, across all the different camps that we're hiring for, an amazing number to be at right now. Lakefront still has about 20 and pool a little over 40. So they're plugging away, and it's still only April, and they're going to have some trainings and all that kind of stuff coming up that we're getting them all ready for. The HR team also met with PDERMA to kick off the loss control review. Basically, the loss control review is their periodic assessment of all of their members' risk management and how we are providing risk management to the patrons and to our public and how safe we're being, essentially. So each year there's a different focus. So the things that they're working on this year are different things like lawnmower safety training, slip, trips, and falls assessments, emergency action plans, and then on-site visits to our aquatics and sports classes or camps. So they'll be going out there and reviewing that. And then we have Marcom. So marketing and communications, the sustainability plan is complete. Allison Rhodes worked really hard on that one, which you will hear from Lucy a little bit in just a tad. Dave mentioned that we combine spring, summer. We are looking to do fall 1 and fall 2 and evaluate that process too. The one thing that wasn't on his radar though, that we're kind of working on behind the scenes, is that we're doing a focus group on April 16th to gather additional data about that combination. So for spring, summer, we combined them into one book. We had registration at the same time. Heard that feedback. It was a lot to juggle, a lot to register between both the seasons. Yes, we can separate the registration dates. However, if for some reason at our focus groups or at the survey that's available to take that will close on April 15th, that plan may adjust. So no matter what we are looking for and what we think is best, we always want to hear what the community wants and what they're looking for too. So if you have not completed that survey, please encourage people to take it. We have about 19 people that are signed up to be part of the focus groups, and we have over 200 responses on the survey so far. So again, great feedback, but we can always use more. So the more details we have, the more we can plan ahead for how the community wants to register, not just what we think the community's looking for. So other than that, they've been teaming up with Lucy to do the Earth Day at K event. So that'll be back on April 20th. It's a free community event from 10 a.m. to noon. They have different recycled crafts, a plant activity, make your own trail mix, nature walk, and get to plan all the bump outs and all that kind of fun stuff. It was a little rainy last year, but that didn't stop anybody. So the rain does not matter. It's still a lot of fun. And then sustainability, Lucy will give you all things sustainability just shortly. So if you have any questions about that, I can help answer those. So that's it for operations.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That brings up finance. Is that next?
Hi, everyone. Everything related to the financials we went over at the COW. We talked about the differences that are considered permanent, the differences that are considered timing. I've been meeting with everyone who owns a budget at the Park District, and thinking that the COW was going to be 2 weeks from tonight and not next week. I thought I would have that done for you. So you'll see, I'll circulate a memo that explains what's going on. I have a spreadsheet that's going to be explaining differences, and I'll have some wording that goes with that. So we can kind of keep track of what we already know about, that an expense that we know isn't budgeted for, revenue that we know we're not going to hit, and I'll let you know what's happening with that. The capital budget is moving along. In here you'll see that we're only a little bit ahead of budget. Christy and I meet every month to talk about where we are. There's 4 projects already complete, and I think out of the 50 projects, 47 of them are already in process. Whether stuff has been ordered and we're waiting on it, there's a lot of stuff that has to wait until the end of the season to be finished, but we know that that's going to happen. Does anybody have any questions on financials? Okay. Yes? No. All right. What finance has been up to in the last month. So we've been meeting a lot with the auditors to try and get the audit completed. The first draft is supposed to be delivered to me on April 19th. So I don't know that date's going to slip. Hopefully I'm going to see all of that stuff. We plan to have a discussion about the financials at the COW in May so that they can be voted on for the board meeting in June. All right? Any questions on that?
So when will we be reviewing the audit?
It would be at the COW in May.
May.
Right? But if we get them in the 19th, I should be able to get a reasonable draft within 2 to 3 weeks. So you'll have a couple of weeks to take a look at that. before the count, all right? The rest of the month was spent analyzing the debt structure and where we think that's going to be. That's still in process. I'm sure all of you know where we are on that, okay? We hired a new commodity broker for electricity, NIMIC. What is that? It's in there, Northern Illinois Municipal Electric Collaborative, thinking that we would get some pretty good pricing with a bunch of people, and not everyone gets the same pricing. So I was not really pleased with the pricing that we received. So we only signed for a 1-year contract, and we'll take a look at that again a year from now. The gas contract, though, which is up at the end of June, we're currently paying 57.5 cents. The prices that are coming in are right around 40. So we may go into a much longer, maybe 2 to 3 years on that. We should be closing that in the next week or two. Okay. And then of course, like I have my customer service person, write this really kind of fun thing that's sitting in the middle of a finance, memo. She did bring up the fact that Kara was at a women's club event, which I thought was kind of cool. So yay us. And my technology team's been busy trying to get Langdon and South Beach and a bunch of stuff going to get everything ready for summer. So that's kind of it. Does anybody have any questions?
No kudos to your tech team for their simulated phishing attempts to keep everyone on their toes.
Yeah, that's.
They're getting more and more believable every time. I hope none of you have fallen for it.
Yeah, it's there. He's earning his keep on that.
He is taking IT security very seriously, as we should be. It's a significant. Oh, right. Some coughing at the team.
Any
Thanks to them
questions?
for
Is that
keeping
it?
us in good shape.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Just had that guilty look on her face.
That
Funny how you spoke up so quickly. Actually, I was talking to you specifically, but was she?
That concludes staff reports. That brings us to having no unfinished business. We're at 8.0 new business. We have a presentation on the promised sustainability plan. Let's welcome Lucy.
Hey, Lucy.
Hello.
Welcome.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Let me just get this up. Perfect. Okay. So hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Lucy Mellon. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the Wilmette Park District, in addition to some other entities in the village. And tonight I'll be presenting on the Park District's inaugural sustainability plan, which we have named the Guide to Green. So tonight, I'll be reviewing the parts of the plan, first starting with the planning process and briefly reviewing everything that went into that. I'll talk about what's actually contained in the plan, the objectives that we've created and have spelled out in it, and the implementation of the plan and the processes that we have planned to undergo in the next 4 years. And like I said, this is a rather brief overview of the plan. You can find all of the information that I talk about tonight contained in the plan, which is included in the packet. So to give some context for the timeline and the development that we've undergone in the last 10 months, we kicked this off in June of 2023. We kicked off the sustainability planning process, which involved creating our internal staff sustainability steering committee. Before June of 2023, in April, though, I did present to the board on the sustainability practices that we were already employing with the Park District, and I did that by talking to each department specifically and learning what they were implementing. Then in July of 2023, we released our first round survey, which went out to the community. And I'll share some overview results, but it is also included as an appendices of the plan. And this was more general, asking residents and patrons what they thought about sustainability, how familiar they were with it, how sustainable they perceived the Park District to be, things like that. And then in August of 2023, I hosted my first table talk alongside some of our individuals on the Sustainability Steering Committee, where we focused on what is sustainability. So we engaged with patrons and residents in a variety of locations to talk to them just more generally about sustainability as a topic, and also to share that survey results from the first round survey. Then in September of 2023, we released a second round survey, which focused more on prioritization of strategies, so asking patrons what they thought was most important and what they wanted to see included in the plan. And then similar to that first round, for the second one, we hosted table talks with the Sustainability Steering Committee to talk about what goes into a sustainability plan. So sharing the results of that first survey and then hearing what patrons thought should be included in the plan and answering questions about why we included things specifically. Then in December of 2023, we shared the draft strategies that the internal steering committee had created, shared that with the Park Board of Commissioners, and you were able to provide feedback and suggestions or ask questions. And then in February of 2024, we shared those draft strategies with the public and had some open-ended surveys that they were able to take to provide feedback of what they thought of the strategies and things that they thought were potentially missing or they wanted to be included. And we were then able to incorporate those before the strategies, how they are as you see them today. So that internal planning process, like I said in the beginning. So first was that internal assessment, which I presented to all of you in April of last year. And then we did an external assessment, which was myself either reviewing plans or interviewing staff from these various park districts in our area or nearby. A lot of park districts in Illinois and across the country actually don't have sustainability plans. It's a lot newer of a process, so we're really able to be on the forefront of that with, you can see a few of our neighbors having them, but there wasn't a large pool to pull from. So we did review the village's sustainability plan to make sure anywhere that the park district was called out in that, we were able to have some symmetry between our strategies and their strategies. Talked with Urbana Park District, Glenview, Oak Park, Forest Preserves of Cook County, and then a metro park out of Dayton, Ohio. And then we created our internal steering committee, which included 10 members of our staff from all departments, but also individuals that maybe had a specific interest in sustainability or wanted to learn more. And they helped by meeting monthly to brainstorm plan strategies, review plan materials, and help elicit community feedback, but also to provide their specific expertise to each department. We then did our external planning process, like I talked about, which involved 3 components. First were those table talks at 4 different locations. We hosted 3 table talks in the first round and 2 in the second round. And then we did our surveys, 2 external and 2 internal. So the first external survey, as you can see, received 779 responses, the second with 273. And then the 2 surveys that we sent out internally, we received 213 responses in the first and 60 in the second. And these were all similar questions between the external and the internal, with some questions omitted for the internal, like, do you utilize park district services, and what is your zip code, because those weren't as relevant for our internal ones. And then our draft strategy feedback, like I said, this was when we allowed people to kind of give us an open-ended response questions with the survey. And we had 529 visits to the feedback document. Those aren't necessarily individual clicks, so individuals could have exited out and come back in. But we did receive, as a total, 20 comments or suggestions from individuals for that document. And so I won't dive into the survey results too deeply, but this is the first round survey result. Like I said, it's included in a lot more of its entirety in the appendices of the document, but this is what we had shared with the public at the table talks and also on our website. So as you can see, it's more general questions. How do you feel about sustainability? How familiar are you with it? How sustainable do you feel the park district is? How serious do you think climate change is? And you can see overall really positive feedback from residents in that plan. And then our second round survey, this is where I said individuals were ranking things that they, wanted to prioritize or felt most strongly about. And as you can see, there's kind of an even split between a lot of these results, which is good because all of these things ended up being included in the plan, because this really shows that different things were prioritized by different individuals. People were passionate about one thing over another, and it's good to see that all of those things were actually represented in the plan in the end. So whether people were most passionate about nature play areas or green infrastructure installations, they would see that incorporated. So this kind of helped us to realize that everyone's really passionate about something else, and we should focus on all of these different topics. So then jumping into the plan makeup, and happy to go back and touch on anything I just talked about in the planning process. If anyone wants to see those slides again, I can jump into the plan makeup if there's no questions.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So this is very helpful to see the charts indicating interest. As I look at this, the one that has the most response appears to be the water conservation, but that's within that category. The rest are across 4 or 5 choices?
Yeah, so water ended up being a category. We didn't have a lot of individual strategies just broken out in water. So we ended up taking that category and spreading the water strategies into the other 5 categories, which is why you'll see land, education, emissions and energy, internal practices, and waste are really those 5 core subcategories of the plan. And then water, since it didn't have enough strategies to really stand on its own, we put those out into the other categories where it fit.
Got it. Thank you. It doesn't mean necessarily that water conservation trumped everything else. It just meant that in that category it was.
Yes, absolutely. And water conservation is still included in, we have it in the
Everything
land management and the other categories of the plan.
Thank you.
Yeah. So moving on to the makeup of the plan. So there's 5 distinct categories, but as I said, there's an appendices section, a resources section, and a glossary, which kind of just stand on their own at the end of the plan. But we have the executive summary in the beginning, the background and introduction. We talk briefly about what is climate change more globally and in Wilmette. There's the objectives, and then we have the implementation section, which really pulls out those objectives and talks about things like target start date, performance measures, and implementation. But if you just want to see the core objectives, you can go to that objectives section, which is what I'll be focusing on next specifically. So as I mentioned, there's 5 distinct subcategories: district operations, education initiatives, energy and emissions, land stewardship, and waste management. And these weren't in any specific order of prioritization. We just put them in alphabetical order for the most obvious organization. So first, starting with district operations, this section pertains to the internal practices of the park district with a focus on making employee processes more sustainable and enhancing operational sustainability. And within this section, there are 3 smaller subcategories. So employee participation includes things pertaining to trainings, creating an internal green team to continue to implement the sustainability plan, things like encouraging public transit and more sustainable actions by employees. That has 11 strategies. Our green purchasing section has 5 strategies and includes things like green vendor lists, a bulk buy process, and prioritizing the purchase of more sustainable products. And then our supplies and resources section with 4 strategies talks about things like paper reduction, water bottle refill stations, and continuing to donate technology or recycle it. So any questions about the district operations section? No? Okay.
So it feels like, my brief overview on it, it feels like it's a lot of little things that, I mean, this is something that I espouse to. If everybody makes a small change in their life, together we make a big change. So, water refill stations, recycling of electronics, these seem like little things, but as you put it all together, it makes a larger impact.
Yeah, and for the district operations section, definitely it is a lot of internal things, trying to kind of build a culture of sustainability, educate residents, educate employees who maybe aren't familiar with it, and really implement and institutionalize these practices that we're already doing, and that we're maybe already doing on a smaller scale, but want to make sure that we're able to scale that up to touch all of our employees in different parts.
There's one, the inclusion of the sustainability plan and expectations about employee performance and employee performance reviews, that's not a small change. That's actually pretty relevant if it comes up yearly. So, it's a big change and something that we all kind of kicked around, and I'm glad to see it. It speaks to the change in culture. So
yeah, and definitely not something that we want to impose too much on employees, like you're saying, in reviews, but make sure it's front of mind and that people are recognizing it and are able to reference back to it. So we'll move on to education. The education section underscores our dedication to raising environmental awareness and education within the community, enhancing visibility, and fostering a deeper understanding of our collective role in sustainable living. And so we have first the signage section with 3 strategies, which highlights things like telling people about the native habitats that we have and providing educational signage for features that we have and things that we're already doing, but also highlighting strategies that are listed later on in the plan and making sure that people are able to learn from what the district is doing. Second is programming, so providing additional educational opportunities, continuing to celebrate Earth Day and Earth Month, collaborations with outside organizations, and making sure that we're really touching on that early childhood center. So that has 6 strategies. And then the visibility section, which is about patron communications and really making sure that we're reaching our patrons and connecting with them about these sustainable practices. And that has 3 strategies. So any questions about the education section? We can move on. Energy and emissions. So the objectives in this category are geared towards reducing emissions, enhancing energy efficiency, and increasing the district's use of electric equipment. We have 4 subcategories in this section. First, the evaluation section with 3 strategies. This includes things like energy audits, greenhouse gas emissions inventories. Our efficiency section, which is exactly as it sounds, it focuses on energy efficiency with 5 strategies. The clean energy section with 3 strategies focuses on renewable energy and electric vehicle charging. And then the emissions reduction section with 5 strategies, which focuses also on EVs, promoting carpooling amongst residents and amongst patrons, and then also still focusing on renewable energy, but specifically within our emissions. Any questions about the energy and emissions section?
I just had one about efficiency. The first one
Yeah.
jumped out at me a little bit about LED lighting, because I know that for a number of years we've allocated funds, and then there've been some grants with ComEd and whatnot. Is there still a fair amount of non-LED lighting in the district? I thought that we were pretty far along in that process.
So I think I would refer to Christy more specifically if she has anything to say about the LED lighting that we currently have. I know there's some issues with fixtures as well. We had 2 individuals from Parks and Planning on the Sustainability Steering Committee, and while we have transitioned a lot of our lighting, there's still some left, and some that relates to the fixture itself that can't accept an LED bulb. But Christy, do you have any? Yeah, is that what you would?
So the Centennial Tennis Courts, those aren't LED. That's a project that we're doing this year.
Right.
We have put into practice that we're not replacing bulbs that are existing and working. And once we start to transition through, we've been replacing bulbs with LED. So yes, Centennial, the majority of the building is LED. Golf has transitioned over. It's mostly community recreation center that still has some areas that we are working on this year.
Okay.
Thanks for the tap in, Christy. Appreciate it. Any other questions with energy and emissions? No? Okay. We'll move on to land stewardship. So this section emphasizes our commitment to the preservation of the natural environment and outlines objectives to protect and nurture local ecosystems, including diverse plants and animals that those ecosystems support. There are 2 subcategories in this section, the first being sustainable land management, which has 12 strategies in it, and this focuses on native species, minimizing pesticide use, maintaining the trees that we have, and trying to keep that number steady. And then also community engagement with 3 strategies, focuses on volunteer events and the volunteers that we already have, and really connecting with those individuals and maintaining those relationships. Any questions about the land section?
One question here,
Yeah.
sorry. Number 6 in the sustainable land management refers to the tree canopy. I mean, over the course of the last couple of years, we've done a number of landscape plans for a number of our parks. Is there a process to review those, or do we think those are adequate, or were you consulted as we went through and developed those landscape plans?
Yeah, so the individuals that do the landscape plan were a part of the Sustainability Steering Committee, and the increase of tree canopy or trying to maintain it is, we're not trying to increase it too much. There's only so much land that we can have and so much that we want to have trees by, but it's really making sure that we're maintaining the canopy that we have. So when Christy talks about losing trees that are invasive or trees that have died, making sure that we're replanting those and having those be established and be successful, not so much that we're trying to change or alter the landscape plans, but I think the individuals that are making the landscape plans do know that it's a priority to either maintain or to increase the canopy when possible, and also the emphasis on native plants as well.
I think all the plans that we've seen have all been about native and addressing any invasives, so.
I was referring more to the quantity of the tree canopy and whether that was reflected in those plans. So I think you answered it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the last section in waste management. So within this section of the plan, we detail our objectives for minimizing waste generation and promoting responsible and sustainable waste disposal practices. There's 2 subcategories in this section. The reduction section with 4 strategies focuses on things like reducing polystyrene, which is commonly referred to as styrofoam, also having environmental standards relating to things that we're purchasing and trying to eliminate some unnecessary, things that will just end up in the trash, and also trying to obtain more sustainable items. And then sustainable disposal, making sure that recycling is something that we're implementing in the district and something that everyone's aware of how to do properly, and also trying to implement things like staff composting and education surrounding how we're actually getting rid of these items in a sustainable manner. Any questions about the waste section? No? Okay. We'll move on to implementation timeframes. So you'll notice in the implementation section that there's this large chart that builds out things like the subcategory it's a part of, but also the objective itself, the performance measure, and then the implementation section, which I wanted to give more of a highlight to explain. So the short, medium, and long term is pretty easy to understand. The short is things that can be implemented in under 2 years, and you'll see that corresponding target start date is reflected in that. Medium, 2 to 3 years, and then long, 3+ years. But then we have this ongoing section, which is things that implementation will occur over the next 4 years. And we added this because there's no definitive end date to these things, because it's things that we want to really institutionalize and make sure that we're continuing on after the target start date. So there's 3 primary examples of things that ended up in this ongoing category. The first being like that top example, things that we're continually considering during changes or purchases. So anytime we're changing lighting out or we're putting in lighting replacements or new installations, we want to make sure that we're considering dark sky lighting practices during all of these. And if it's something that we can implement or something that's able to be done, we'll then implement that. Things that are cementing existing practices. So continue to phase out the use of high greenhouse gas emitting small engine equipment. This is something that we are already doing, but we wanted to make sure that if there were things like staffing changes or someone came in and maybe didn't prioritize that as much as we know our Parks and Planning Department is currently prioritizing that, we were able to really cement this as something that the Park District thinks is important and we can continue to do throughout the time of the plan and afterwards. Then also things that we're continually implementing. So for example, increased composting availability at events. This is something that we're going to start doing in the short term, but we want to continue this throughout the next 4 years. We don't want it to have an end date. It's not, a deliverable that we can turn in. It's something that we want to really cement as a practice. So any questions about these timeframes?
I really appreciated the thoughtfulness with how you're staging it out and to, like you're saying, to cement things, because on first review of these, I think some of us had questions like, well, we're already doing this. So I really appreciate how you tweaked this chart. It's really helpful.
Absolutely.
And I think defining timeframes is always important because my short could be different than yours and yours and yours. So this was very well done.
Thank you.
So I just want to clarify when you have like a short time frame, that means within the next 2 years to start at mediums, within the next, well, I guess 2 to 3 years, and that's to implement. That's for the implement. Okay.
Yes, correct. So it'll be target. So it's target start date is what it refers to. So, for example, like here I can pull something up on the plan.
Because I think one of the things I was having a problem, like you might not be implementing something for within the short, so within 2 years, but then it's going to be ongoing.
So the things that were in the short term were more related to policies or documents that would be created and would be complete and finished. So for example, create an anti-idling policy to reduce emissions from staff and patron vehicles. So that's something that we can create. And then in the short term, it would essentially be completed because we would have something to refer back to as a policy. Or post signage at all major facilities to promote carpooling and alternative fuel vehicles. So that's something we could post, and it would be sort of checked off the list in that short time frame. Whereas ongoing items may have a short implementation start date. So for example, continue to phase out the use of high greenhouse gas emitting small engine equipment. The target start date is currently, it's Q2 of 2024, but it's ongoing because we're going to continue to do it throughout the next 4 years.
Okay.
So for something like the $3,000 green purchase, and I'm just
right.
My memory right. So that would be something we try to do in the short term, but practically speaking, that's won't really come into fruition until the medium or long term. So some of these things are available or cost competitive.
Exactly.
I actually had circled that. I just wanted to ask a question about it, but is that fairly common among the other park districts where that threshold was?
So yes and no. Some of the policies had no target start dates or implementation timeframes. They were more so just the objective section. Others used sort of different metrics to determine how they were going to do it based on the timelines that they thought they could complete it. So there sort of isn't a universal best practice currently for how people were designated when something would be completed, but we thought that target start date would be best just because a lot of these things are things that we did want to institutionalize.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the actual implementation. So like I said, it's a 4-year initiative. We want to complete everything by 2029. That's not in 2029. And so in 2028, we'll be doing a final comprehensive assessment of the progress made over the previous 4 years. And we'll use this evaluation to develop an updated plan concurrent with the end of the existing plan. So we'll be able to jump right into something else after we assess where we've been and where we want to go. And then we can just jump right into that after the other plan is complete. So for tracking, the sustainability coordinator would work with the implementing departments to receive progress on the plan's objectives and can track all of this progress via a comprehensive spreadsheet. And obviously we'll be working really closely with departments, checking with them quarterly for those specific targets because we did map them out by quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And should anything veer off course due to budgeting, staff constraints, responsibility constraints, the board would be kept updated on that and updated on the progress of how the plan's going. I'm also planning to meet with all of the departments and host lunch and learns to educate them on the things that are most specific to their department and share with them things in the immediate term that will want to get implemented and things maybe more in the long term to be just keeping back of mind. Then for reporting, like I said, sustainability plan progress, tongue twister, will be assessed annually. An evaluation will be presented annually via a progress report and presentation to the Park Board of Commissioners. But like I said, if things veer off course, you'll be kept updated on that and explained reasons why. So any questions on the implementation? Okay. And so finally, just want to give a thank you to everyone that was involved in this process. It has been a great 10 months working with the Park District Sustainability Steering Committee and the staff that were really dedicated with that, but also the patrons that we had take the survey, come out to the table talks, the Board of Park District Commissioners, who was great with providing feedback on the strategies and was really supportive and helped to really push this project forward. And then also just our staff in general, who were also really supportive of the project, took the internal surveys, were really engaged and really positive. So happy to answer any questions, go back to any other slides or reference a specific page in the plan should anyone have a question.
Are there any specific questions?
Yeah, so appreciate the implementation overview and, obviously how we progress from here is something to be measured. How will we learn from you or from staff what's occurring?
Yeah, so I'll be keeping a spreadsheet maintained that will be updated to the board in board reports that Lindsay's presenting, and we'll be able to really track whether things are veering off course, if something wasn't able to start on the target start date, and that will all come from the specific departments who I'll be keeping updated on. And hopefully that internal green team, like I said, that's a strategy in the plan to continue that staff sustainability steering committee, but giving people an opportunity to maybe step back if they're not able to and find individual representatives from each department who can come to our meetings similar to other staff committee meetings and tell us how different things are going and really use that implementation start date as a way to measure, it's Q2. This is what's supposed to be happening in Q2. How are things going? Do we think these are things that we'll be able to keep updated on? And then if, something veers off course due to budgeting or maybe a staff constraint, we can keep the board updated on that.
Thank you.
Well, Lucy, thank you so much. I just want to commend the professionalism and the approach you've taken has been so systematic, and I couldn't be more proud of the document that you've created for our district. I encourage everyone. Lucy just ran through the presentation, which is the summary of, but also included in the board packet, either that you picked up tonight or that you can access online for today's meeting, is the entire presentation. It is not only full of meaty information and good, exciting initiatives, it's really pretty and so professional. And so I'm just so proud of that, the thoroughness. And as you said at the beginning, that there aren't that many districts that have undertaken this yet. So thank you for putting us at the forefront of that. Yeah, on behalf of all of us, thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Very exciting topic would be the surplus ordinance.
No,
Hang on.
we have to move to approve the
Oh,
sustainability.
wait.
Approve the plan.
I'm sorry.
I would like to move to approve the sustainability plan for the Wilmette Park District
It's okay.
as
Let 'em
presented
do it
by
from
staff. I did.
there. It's all good. I'll second it.
Commissioner Leahy,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel,
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch,
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis.
Yes.
The sustainability plan is adopted.
Nice job.
Next, may I have a motion for the surplus ordinance?
I move to approve the surplus ordinance 2024-0-4, an ordinance authorizing the disposal of certain surplus property owned by the Wilmette Park District.
I'll second.
Commissioner Leahy?
Yes.
One
Commissioner
quick
Clark?
question, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Be
no.
difficult.
She told me
One
to
quick-
call.
okay.
I'm sorry, was there discussion?
Yes, just one quick question. Certainly the tables from the CRC look like they were very, very ancient, but I was just curious how old the tables were from the lakefront.
These metal tables.
Those are the
they-
tables that I think were at Fat Chalet that we replaced, right?
That's what I assumed. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
not commercial grade
Yes.
is what I
Good.
understand.
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
Now I'm good to go.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Leahy?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goble?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis?
You already circled it. Yes.
Ordinance is approved.
Thank you. That brings us to item 9.0. May I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
I'll move to adjourn to closed session to review minutes of prior meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act for the purpose of review, approval, or release of such minutes in accordance with Section 2C21 of the Open Meetings Act.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Leahy?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goble?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes. Adjourn to closed session. Thank you.